Welcome back to Be Creative Stamping and my Spooky Night Suite reveal. Today, this is the fourth video in the series, and I'm going to share with you how to create this test tube stand. So once your test tube is inserted, it will actually stand up. We're going to start with the Stampin' Trimmer and a standard sheet of pumpkin pie cardstock. You can also use basic black cardstock if you prefer. I'm going to insert the cardstock and I need to trim it at 10¼ inches. So obviously I'm trimming it along the 11-inch side. So I'm going to cut at 10¼ inches. Just like that. And then I'm actually going to also score on this side. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see score lines. All right. And we're going to start with 7/8 of an inch. So 7/8 of an inch is right here. Okay. And so I'm just going to line my paper up along the guide in 7/8 of an inch. And I am going to score. And the lighter blade is the scoring tool, okay? Now my next measurement is 2 inches. So I'll score there. Then 3¼ inches. 5¼ inches. And 9 inches. So I'm gonna scoot way over here and score at 9 inches. Now, if I rotate my cardstock, I'm actually going to trim the width of the stand, and so that's going to be 3 inches. So I'm going to cut here, and I'm actually going to cut again at 3 inches. And so this one sheet of cardstock is going to give me 2 treat tube stands. You're going to need 3 pieces of designer paper to make one treat tube stand. And so you'll have 2 pieces that are exactly the same measurements. That's 1¼ inches by 3 inches. So 2 of those. And then for this little guy here, it's going to need to measure 3¼ inches by 3 inches. We're going to start with cutting a couple of holes in our cardstock and adhering the designer paper before we put it together. So I did create a template this morning to kind of help me follow along, and so I'm going to show this to you as well. As you can see from one end, there are like 3 areas here that are scored, okay? So here are those 3 areas on the blank piece. So the first thing I want to do is to put a hole in the cardstock. Now, I used the Circles Collection framelits. This has since retired. I'm using the smallest one. It actually goes right here. If you do not have this piece, then definitely use the 3/4 inch circle punch. I just found this circle to be a little tighter, and it helped the test tube or the treat tube stand up. All right, so this is something we certainly have to roll through the Big Shot, and you're going to want to center it right in the middle. And I didn't measure, I just kind of eyed it. And then once it comes through the Big Shot, you're going to have the circle right there. Okay, so that's the first one that needs to be done. Now we're going to add some designer paper, and I've chosen these strips. You can certainly use something else if you want. All right, I'm just going to use the same designer paper that I used earlier today. All right, and just kind of line it up. Okay, and now we're going to go down to this end, and we're going to do the same thing. And I'm going to put on the designer paper before we punch the hole in the stand. All right, so we only have to punch that one time. All right, so I'm going to pick this up, and I'll actually go ahead and do the punching for that. And this is the 3/4 inch circle. And again, I'm just going to eye this. I'm not going to measure. Okay. All right. And now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. And we're going to put our biggest piece of designer paper right there in this space. All right. And this is actually the only place it's going to fit. All right. And I'm using, if you've noticed, the experiment bottles and potions. I'm using that on the inside of the treat stand. I thought that looked kind of cool with the treat tubes. Okay. So now that part is done. We're now ready to assemble. And let's see, let's get all these score lines in here. And what I want to do is, there we go. Now I folded all the score lines. I want to put some tear and tape along here. I want that to be pretty sturdy, and Snail will probably not hold it. And so let's get this done. The nice thing about this is we can tear it, so we don't have to grab the paper snips unless we want to. Although I will grab the paper snips because I'm going to lift up the paper. Okay. And now I'm ready to adhere this. And so what I'm going to do is I am putting this on this score line right here. Okay. And then I am going to put the two pieces together so that it will stick. Okay, so there you go. And now we're actually ready to put our candy in. And I'm actually just going to use the candy that the same treat tube that I used for the sample. This is the chocolate covered sunflower seeds, and let me show you the box. This is how they come. It's a Maggie Lion Chocolatiers, and I did find this at Home Goods, and as you can see, I'm just about out. All right, and we're going to use the stamp, and this is super simple for you all to do. I used the Tangerine Tango ink and the stamp that says eat at your own risk. And I stamped it on very vanilla cardstock, and then I punched it out with the 1-inch circle. And then I took a piece of scrap basic black cardstock and I punched out this little scallop circle. Now this punch I believe has retired, but look at the brand new layering circles framelits, and you may find this size. I did not check on that. And of course the treat tube is from Stampin' Up. And now we're just going to insert this. As you can see, the hole that I used to cut this was the Circles collection, and it's really snug, but it's going to help it stand in place. And then we can just put this little guy over it. And now we're going to stamp. I think I put it too far in. There we go. And now we're going to stamp Happy Halloween. And you can definitely use the trick or treat that's in the stamp set too. The stamp set we've been using all week with the Spooky Night Reveal. And it's called Spooky Cat Stamp Set. I'll move that out the way. I'm going to use the classic label punch, which is brand new this year in the 2017 annual catalog. And I'm going to punch along there. And then I do want to add some dimensionals. And this is when these little tiny dimensionals come in handy. Oops. I'm having a hard time picking them up. Okay, so I'm going to use 3 of those. And I'm going to peel this off. Okay, and now I'm ready to stick on here about so. All right, and this is our treat tube stand. Please let me know if you have any questions. This is part of my Spooky Night Reveal class that I've been posting all week. Please leave a comment on my blog, Facebook page, or YouTube. And let me know how you like the projects. And I'm going to have a drawing on Friday, October 6th after midnight Eastern time. And I'm going to draw one lucky winner to win one of the projects from this week. So please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for buzzing by.